Oh yes, the void
What's up,
field
guys?
is still
Here,
there, and
we're gonna jump
Hercules going to be wielding it
oddly
for
into the
himself
patch notes
too.
here
It's
with a little
look
bit of
at
a
in-game, as we
start
said,
that we had to skip here because Hyris decided to start the patch notes only on Mixer,
no
but
skin
not on
section
Twitch.
At the end today,
And
there
yeah,
will be
here
a
we are.
special show
Let's just go.
Thursday.
That's just how it
Thursday
is.
Coming up after Christmas to show off all the skins
Nice
for a
Arc skin.
2-hour peak. After Cosmic Conqueror Hercules, we've got Brimstone Cerberus that's also going to be available as well. Well, he is from towards the gates of hell, and there's lots of lava involved there. I'm excited to see how this will look in game, and there he is, the handsome Pupperino, coming to you in this patch. Not only that, we'll have Glacial Gaze Medusa.
Okay, I think we're still going through all the skins.
Wow,
We didn't
that
miss
is
that
an
much,
amazing
but
looking card art as well.
Hyris, why?
It looks like a bow. It is a bow, but obviously it looks like a nasty looking hook that she's got. Oh my, there she is.
That
in
skin
the
looks
Gold
sick.
Fury pit for your viewing pleasure. After her, we've also going to have in this patch Dragon Keeper Discordia. Oh my god, what is that pet?
That might be my favorite skin here.
I don't really like things that are nice in general, and I don't really get cutesy very often, but that is a very cutesy little thing. Oh my. Okay, that's Discordia, and that's going to be in the patch.
I like that
Dragon Keeper
concept.
Discordia. It really is a little cute dragon. And last, but certainly not least, is Blight Guardian Athena. She will also be available in the
Cool,
patch.
but was
I'm
that
looking
needed?
forward to seeing her as well. Just a reiteration, one more time, there will be no skin section in this patch. Tune in next Thursday, just after Christmas, for a 2-hour special to showcase all the skins.
Or
But for
I will
now,
just do that
it's time
earlier.
to move swiftly along to the balance section. AJ and FDOT are standing by to run us through the changes this week.
God, these patch notes are chaotic.
I'm not sure if it's
What's
a
going
smash,
on?
But we're gonna smash it anyway. What's good? I'm Tom here with AJ. First of all, how you doing, bud?
Doing all right. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you did laundry for once.
Oh, yeah, new shirt. Well, it doesn't even look like it did laundry because my new kitten's hair is all over it, but you know.
Important information. What's the kitten's name?
Well, I have two, Charlie and Quinn. They're adorable.
Well, that is the best note to start balance on.
Yeah,
I
that
think.
is.
So you know, we roasted AJ for the Amo hoodie, and then we talked about cats. I think everybody's happy.
Check them off the list.
So
Those are
we'll
good
see you
things.
later, guys.
All right, yeah.
No, but you know what? Let's just get into it.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff today.
God balance, Arachne Buff. I'm just gonna say that. Let it
Nice.
sink in. All right,
Look
now
how
let's
surprised
get to it.
everybody is.
Yeah, no, Arachne Buff. We're touching the ultimate, which is really interesting. So, Nightcrawler, Arachne now creates a 25-foot radius of web that lasts for 5 seconds wherever she lands. So you're up here, you jump down, and then there's a giant web. It doesn't stack with the web from the 3, though.
Correct. So what this is an extension of that web. And I talked about this a little bit on my AMA. Arachne has actually had pretty good stats for quite a while.
Why buff the old?
But there's an impact issue here where she doesn't feel good to play, or she feels like she's missing, or she's too linear.
Sure.
She does that 1v1, like outbox you really well, but then like nothing else, and that kind of feels unfun. So really what we wanted to do was give her a little bit more ways to influence a team fight. So what you're going to see here is Arachne being encouraged to use her ultimate as a way of engaging or a way of disrupting a whole backline. Instead of just picking one character out, she has a possibility of slowing multiples. And she'll get that bonus movement speed and people move slower as if they were webbed. If you then shoot your spiders at them while
It's
you're already
only
on them, it's not going
safety.
to double the effects, but you can get them hitting with the spiders as well. Give Arachne players a little more flexibility in the way they play, or give them more control over the way they control the game as her.
Actually, team fight applicable. It's interesting. I
By
noticed this
yeah, okay,
about
team fight, yeah.
Vimana, where the Vimana buff last time was really, it seemed like a modernization of the character.
Right.
Where like the game has changed since he came out, and so he has to change. Arachne, I think this allows her. A lot of the gods right now that you want to jungle with have a team fight application. She kind of didn't, so I think
Right.
this kind of modernizes her, if you will.
Yeah, and I've been playing against that Vimana. He's scary now.
Oh, he's-
that big boy. He comes at you.
Nothing's stopping him.
No.
That's not happening.
Nothing.
Arachne, she'll be stopped, but she'll be moving 40% faster, so kind of interesting there. This one, you need to talk about this one because I am a little scared.
Yeah?
So I want you to talk to me about it. Hel is getting a buff. Okay. So her switch stances, the dark stance power buff she's getting is going up 10 across all ranks. So it used to be from 20 to
let me
60.
move.
Now it's 30 to 70. And the light stance protection buff is going to go up early game, and the end game it'll be the same. So
Right.
early game used to get next to nothing, 2.5 prots. Now you're starting off with 6.5. So in retrospect, not so scary, I guess, but now I have a reason to level my ult.
Right. So that was one of the main reasons we were discussing this. Hel saw some very strong play earlier in the season, but then kind of dropped off.
Sure.
So she's been relatively low in the stats. We've been looking at her. We've been wanting to bring her back up. She's a very flexible character, which is really cool, and that's what we try to
Interesting approach.
make
I like
clear
it.
in this buff.
Yeah.
So the way we chose to go about it is that leveling up her ultimate feels bad. Generally, that's not something we like to have in the game. We don't want really weird, extra gamified meta skill ranking orders, or like especially doing the thing where you put extra points in a certain ability. That's great, but skipping your ultimate just feels weird. So we wanted to make this ability more attractive as putting the point in early game. That's why you see the buff to the early game protections, as well as the early game power. We also just wanted her to feel a little bit more powerful in both stances, right? So we're giving her a protection buff and a power buff here. This is because we didn't want to make this buff seem like a message we were sending to only play Hel mid or only play her support.
That's fair.
We like the options that she has, so we wanted to kind of buff both of those things equally. We wanted players to understand that the balance team and design team was communicating that through this buff, that she is a flexible character. We wanted to keep that as part of her interesting element. So
Play mid, play maybe support. Not in my games.
so I've seen
solo.
people do it before
Yeah,
successfully. Right? We've
Emil's
had some
done
pro
it.
players.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, Hel mid I think is very strong and very fun.
I think that's an
and
that's
do
an underpick.
I do it on occasion, and I enjoy myself.
Very easy
So
to
now
pick.
You go. We got a little bit better protections here at the start, so protect you against that first round gank, which can be really scary when you're Hel. But it's not too much that we think is going to really break her.
Yeah, Hel's healing is really where she gets out of control, and
Right,
and
so we
I
did
think
not buff
this
that.
is yeah, no buffs on the
Which I think
healing.
is the right call.
So Hel's always a character that's kind of interesting to look at the meta. So this is a nice move. Are you expecting her to be like a top pick, top ban, or just viable?
Yeah, I would be surprised if that was the case from this buff, but we're really just wanting to make sure there's a lot of dedicated Hel players out there. We've been just seeing that she's been out of the picture completely, so we just want to make sure she's part of the conversation.
Much more excited about this next one. This is a buff that's right up my alley.
Oh, yeah.
And I say this as somebody that never played Susano. Susano's getting a buff to Typhoon, the ultimate, removing the pre-fire time in the ability, allowing Susano to begin channeling the Typhoon more quickly and cast other abilities sooner. Susano is a combo
That's even more of a
character.
combo
He's
then.
dummy hard to play because there's so many like cancels and things you got to be doing.
True.
And this buff, this change, kind of makes him feel more to his playstyle.
Right. So this was it's kind of a complicated buff to phrase like in the text.
Yeah.
We're adjusting his animation time. Specifically what was happening before is he would animate for a short period of time, then the Typhoon would start deploying. Then it would grow. So you had these extra stages of time where Susano could be stunned or interrupted, where you would see the Typhoon like you would have him animate,
Makes
but the
me
Typhoon
rage.
wouldn't start. And you would have to fire it again. Which is consistent with SMITE abilities. We do allow some abilities to be interrupted, but generally ultimates either have CC immunity, which was another option for this buff, was to give him CC immunity during firing, which we thought was a lot more dangerous. Yeah. So we decided against that and instead adjusted his animations. It's very slight, but what this does is make that firing the ability also lines up immediately with the deployable time. So if you fire this ability and then are stunned, the Typhoon will continue to deploy anyway. And what that does is, by a matter of cause and effect, the Typhoon now actually be fired at full charge that same fraction of time faster. It's about 0.3 seconds, I believe. So you effectively, this ability will feel very same. He's still going to have a full animation he casts while deploying this, but it will deploy sooner. That animation will be a little faster, and you'll be able to launch the deployable a little sooner.
A long time ago, a couple of years ago, there was a sweep where a lot of the pre and post fire delays were changed on the characters, and that led to you couldn't really. It's like when you look at a like.
Why are they playing
well-tailored
music?
Suit,
Oh.
You don't know what about it feels better, but it
Right.
just is a better feel.
Yes.
That's what this is. So you might not understand pre-fire and all this stuff, but go play him
It's
after
not
the patch.
that
and be
hard.
like, oh, I get it.
The Cupid change a couple
Yeah.
seasons back was about the closest, where his ultimate was doing a similar thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it would look like it started deploying when he would get interrupted, but like the arrows were falling, but then nothing happened, and he'd fire it again.
Yeah.
And so this it adds a lot better visual clarity, as well as makes the character feel better to play.
I always love the Frostyak play where he throws out Jetstream and then will ult from back and then like blink forward with the Jetstream and then send the Typhoon in a different direction.
Oh, wow,
You
yeah.
can do crazy stuff like this with that change. So
You can do a lot of crazy stuff with this god if you're good.
yeah, so Susano's gonna get some love there. Thor also getting some love. The classic
Oh, there it is.
Tectonic Rift is gonna be cheaper to cast, and the cooldown is going down. So it goes from 75 to 60 at all ranks, but the cooldown is a big deal to me. It used to be just 17 seconds flat out. Now, once you max it up, it'll be 15-second cooldown. That's the 2, of course. That's the big old wall.
Nice.
Right. So the key thing here is a ranged stun. this is a very unique setup tool that no other assassin has. And what we're trying to do is play to Thor's strengths here. We're wanting to buff this thing that is unique to him. And to me, like, I love having Thors on my team because I love playing on a comp with a ranged stun that is consistently confirmable, that you can combo your abilities off, you can play off of. And that's a really cool thing to be able to do as an assassin, to not have to use your ultimate, not have to completely dive in, but still say, hey, we're going in on this guy. And that's what Thor's really good at. And we wanted to make him a little better at it. He's fallen out of the meta. A lot of the pro player discussions are going to be like not really finding reasons they really want to pick him over other assassins.
Like, yeah, very similar.
We look at it and we go, these are the reasons. This ability is very strong.
Yeah.
I believe even back in the day, we've had some iterations of this with lower cooldown. And after, I believe, like just an undefeated Worlds run by adapting on Thor, this change was made. Or along those lines throughout that season, this change was made. But we're gonna. So this is kind of a revert.
Again, like modernization of characters. Like I think there's a lot of characters that have that semi-global ability that Thor used to, and that was unique. Now you got to look to different reasons why Thor is unique, and a long-range stun that's a wall. That's where it is. So show them love there.
I mean, we've completely redesigned the conquest map, right? So there's a lot of things that may or may not have been affected that take a while for us to suss out and find the impacts. But Thor definitely dropped off a bit this year. We want to bring him back. We want to bring him back in a way that's unique to him.
We'll see if he returns here. Xing Tian. This is really like my style buff. The Susano was really flashy. This is the other side of the games that I really like.
That is
Xing Tian
nice.
Furious Roar. So the dot duration is, instead of being 1 second, 2 seconds, instead of ranking it up, it's 4 seconds all the time now. But to compensate the early parts of it, Xing Tian, one of the few characters that affects attack, basic attack damage.
Correct.
And so he decreases the damage done by basic attacks to those affected by the dot.
Right.
Now, since it lasts 4 seconds, in the early stages, it's going to go down. You're only going to decrease the damage by 20%. But at the max rank, it'll still be the 50% that it was before.
But it's much longer.
Longer dot time. I think this increases his utility. And then on top of that, the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, or the dishwasher,
the
as
best
we like
ability
to say.
name ever.
I actually will disagree. Now,
Yeah,
deals damage. It deals damage to enemies in assault radius, even if you cleanse it. Used to be able to beads and avoid the damage. Not going to be the case anymore.
Right.
Also, he's 25% faster.
Yes.
So let's talk about this one by one. Furious Roar.
Just
this
jump
is really cool.
around.
Like I said, he's got unique utility here, and this seems like a double down on that.
Right. So similarly, the way I was describing the Thor buff, this is something that Xing Tian has that no one else does.
No one else.
And a lot of people don't even really recognize how this ability was working at the time, just because the way it fires and ticks. So it did a burst damage tick and then had a dot follow-up tick. And that follow-up was actually scaled off duration, but dealt percent health damage, effectively making it deal much more damage late game. It was very confusing set of scaling mixtures.
That
it
part,
worked well for him.
25%.
But what we're trying to do here is make this ability make
is
a little
huge.
bit more sense. So what you're going to see here is some actual nerfs to the numbers, but that's to even out the ability overall because it had no duration before. So now that we're making the duration consistent, we have to adjust the numbers accordingly. But what this really does is let Xing Tian do well in the duo lane because you're going to be able to nerf that enemy hunter's attacks for the full 4 seconds. That's a lot of time and a lot of time for you and your team to make plays.
Well, I used to have a lot of time to walk away from Whirlwind and Rage and Steel. I remember all the memes when this guy, because when he first came out,
let's read an entire book while he's warming up his ultimate.
My favorite.
Yeah.
He was kind of silly when he came out, then they slowed it down. Now he's going to move faster, and like we said, you're still going to get hit by the damage. I think Whirlwind of Rage and Steel is one of those abilities that you can kind of whiff really easy and feels kind of bad.
Yep.
So this is a feels good change, and I think probably a change in the right direction.
So a key thing here is that there's multiple ways to speed up something, right?
Sure.
So when Xing Tian launched, this ability was perceived as very strong because it had very little warm-up time, pre-fire time,
super
casting
fast
time, as they would say. Those are all synonyms. That made it very hard to react to.
Sure.
And even if you were quick on your beads, you would most likely get displaced a little bit, take a little bit of damage. So we wanted to slow that down to give it a little bit better feel in reactivity. But that also gave him feels bad in other ways.
Right.
So what we're trying to do here is we want to make it clear. We've adjusted that timing a little bit more. We want to make it clear we feel pretty good about that timing now, the reactivity timing. But still, that does not affect the way he positions himself. That's a completely different way to affect how this ability is casted. So this movement speed increase is going to affect his positioning more than his timing. This will let him catch up to enemies slightly who are trying to run away from him while he's firing this. Or what you really end up feeling a lot when you're playing Xing Tian. I play him a lot. He's one of my favorite gods to play in all sorts of arena, clash, those types of
Joust?
modes. Of course, Joust. But you want to grab someone, and then you always try and look to the next person, right?
Let's not make this
I
personal.
want to hook you on my axe, and I want to fling you over here, but I want to grab the next guy.
Right.
And with this movement speed buff, you'll be able to do that. And also, it just felt strange to cleanse this thing and be in this giant swirling axe area and just not taking any damage. It just felt wrong.
Yeah.
So we wanted to fix that.
Yeah, so that's going to be fixed up a little bit. That's going to be it for God Balance.
Xing's gonna be
Recap
scary.
real quick. Arachne's getting some love to the ultimate. Should have some application to team fights. Hel getting some changes. You're going to
Talk about that more in the Patch Notes review. This
Susano,
is so
easier
hectic.
at comboing Thor. The wall's kind of nicer. And Xing Tian getting that utility boosted up. And also maybe you'll actually hit somebody with your ultimates. Coming up now is a really big deal. King Arthur, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about him. Hindu, over to you.
Whoa. Not just yet. We've got a little bit more to talk about, first of all, which is an event that's going to be coming with King Arthur. But first of all, we got all buffs at patch. I've never seen that happen. It's because I'm not doing the balance section, I guess. Like, we didn't nerf anything. So, a buffed Christmas. But first of all, I've got Tina joining me so far for Legend of Camelot, a new event that's going to be available and in SMITE along with this patch all around King Arthur. Tina.
Yes. Hi.
Obviously, AJ's on his way over from the other patch notes section,
AJ's
so like
coming.
he'll be there
I kept
soon.
his seat really warm.
Tell me a little bit about this King Arthur event. What is the Legend of Camelot?
The Legend of Camelot is basically so it comes right after the Odyssey,
Right.
and the lore and everything that was happening in the lore in the Odyssey is actually continuing over into the Legend of Camelot. So
Right.
it's actually really interesting. And AJ,
So the
who's
story's
right
gonna,
here,
like,
can
the
tell
story-
you more about
Hey,
the
put the microphone in
lore.
you first of all. But so the story's going to go from Hera's Odyssey
Correct.
straight into this, and it's going to follow on.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool. I thought it was going to be like Hera's is going to stop for a while. I'm going to do this, but
No.
it's part of it.
Well,
Yes.
one of the things we're
Continuing.
moving forward with the lore is we're all of SMITE, not just our events, not just our gods. All of SMITE is moving along this one cohesive timeline. And
Right.
we're designing a lot of things in the game for that. So at the end of Hera's Odyssey, we identified Jormungand as our biggest threat and Ragnarok looming, and she used her powers of leadership and togetherness to find King Arthur and Merlin, and she just made contact with them, and we're just about to bring them into our world. Then we start the Arthur story, and what we're gonna do for the first chapter of the Arthur story is take a little flashback
Okay.
to what happened in Camelot, kind of bridge the gap between Arthur's historical and legendary tales and the SMITE world.
Right.
And then we're going to start right where we left off. So we're going to go in chapter 2 of Arthur event. We're going to have Arthur is there with Hera. Jormungandr is bearing down on them, attacking them right then, and we're going to go right into it.
Now, this event, and what I'm hearing about is you don't have to buy into this event to be
Oh,
part of
no.
it.
Oh, look at all the
No.
gods.
So
I didn't even realize this.
it's actually
Italy, Thor,
it's
Anubis,
a buy-through event.
Hera,
So
Bellona,
what that means
Samdi,
is, there's bundles.
Scotia.
There's actually 5 bundles,
Okay.
corresponding to 5 patches. So every patch is a bundle. These bundles have 4 exclusive items in them, so 2 skins and then 2 bonus items.
Right.
And then, so when you buy any of the first bundles, you will also get the title King and Queen for
Okay.
buying any of the first bundles. And then if you buy 3 bundles, you will receive this really cool tier skin. Yes.
Oh, you get
Yes,
a taste if you buy all
it's-
the bundles. Okay.
Yes. If you buy 3
Three of them.
bundles.
That's the midway.
Midway,
order.
3 bundles.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my bad.
If you buy 5, you get the Merlin Master Soulbinder skin.
Man, you get a skin for a god, and we talk about a skin for a god that's not even out yet. That's cool.
Correct.
Yes.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, but we'll be
Yes.
showing some concept art for that earlier.
Yes.
in the
But there's
event,
also
sure.
some quests in this as well.
Yes,
from what
there
I'm hearing
is.
as well,
Yes, there
right?
is. There's 10 quests. Every patch, there's going to be 2 quests that come out. The two quests are 40 gems total if you complete them.
So 20 each.
So 20 each, yes. So all in total, you can get 200 gems for just doing this whole event.
Right. Okay.
The very important thing is after the first 2 quests are out, when the next 2 quests come out, the next patch, those 2 quests in the first patch are going to turn off.
Gotcha. So
make sure you complete them.
the quest as soon as they come out to
Yes.
get all the gems you possibly can for
Yes,
Each
correct.
patch. And yeah, this event, just for playing SMITE, you'll be able to get gems during this event,
That's cool.
whether or not you want to get the cool skins we got or not.
free. I've got a couple of things on here as well. All the content have icons in that event that hint towards what they will be.
Yes. So when you're in the event, the event page,
Yep.
there'll be like icons. So for the next patches that are following,
what's coming.
you can kind of see like
Oh, we
the
check them
hint
out.
at what's coming next.
I
and
always
stuff.
enjoy seeing that post and people trying to guess
Trying
like
to
which
guess
god it's
what-
going to be
And
what,
the names are going to be there, so it's both like the icon and the name, so you can help you guess. Yeah.
So as a recap, there's 4 items in each bundle, 2 skins, and 2 bonus items. There's going to be 5 total bundles over the patches.
Yes.
And during each of those patches, you guys will be
drop this.
able to earn 20 gems per a quest that you complete. But you've got to complete those quests during that patch, otherwise you'll lose them.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
And last but not least, Heroes Odyssey then is going to be ending, I believe. 6.1 goes live, Heroes Odyssey ends,
Yes.
and 5.24, the patch that this patch is on, is the last update where you can get Godslayer Ares.
Right, so that'll give you till about the middle of January.
Okay, so that's just a finalization
So,
of when you can get Ares.
As we've been doing this year, we're going to let you, some last minute people out there, if you still decide you want to get some Odyssey skins, you'll have an extra patch to do that. But when 6.1 launches, the Odyssey will be gone.
Awesome. And when 6.1 goes live, Odyssey is completely over. The quest will turn off as well.
Right.
So
Everything
be
off.
very, very aware
So more
of that.
like end of January.
No more reasons or excuses. We've got everything down there. Well, before we show off King Arthur real quick, we're going to throw it quickly over to F. and Isaiah to break down some community things that are going on. And when I get back to me, you know what time it is? It's time to show you Arthur.
Hey, what's good, guys? It's me. I'm back. Haha. Remember when I said we were going to King Arthur? Just kidding.
That's
Everybody's
end of
mad.
the show. You know, you gotta wait just a little bit longer for that King Arthur reveal.
Everybody's mad, but I got you. So that's 10 points to me. We will be talking about King Arthur, everything, full reveal in just a little bit. But right now, I'm chilling with my man Isaiah. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. How about you, bro?
Chilling. I'm really excited. It's off season, so
Right.
chilling is all I do right now. So I'm all about it. We got some D&D. You been watching that?
Oh, most definitely. Episode. You guys are playing another round after this?
Yeah.
Nice.
Right after this, we have the D&D coming up. That's a really fun part for the community right now because Pro League's off, and I get this question all the time on my stream, like, so what do y'all do in the off season?
Right.
And a lot of times it's like, well,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. But now I'm doing Let's Talk, which is a cool community show. I had Aurora on last week. Finch hosted last time and had Moswell on. We got a chance to talk to a number of developers.
Right.
They all play against each other. Gormizer shows up. Totally and Taco are doing like viewer game analysis. And then, like I said, we have the D&D show, which I think is a slam dunk. It's all 6 of us casters playing Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Finch does, and he makes fun of me a lot for it. So a lot of community stuff going on the Mixer channels.
Definitely. Yeah, and we got a lot of community stuff going on in game. Want to give you guys a reminder that during 523, as long as you play one game, you'll unlock that awesome Jingle Shells Kuzenbo skin that we showed at the very top of the show. Be sure
Get
you
it.
guys don't
That's
wanna miss
nice.
out on that. And that's our gift from the Titan Forge team to you guys. We appreciate you guys, the community, all you guys do. We just wanted to give a thank you this holiday season.
Yeah, I love it. The little Kuzenbo, the little kappa,
Right.
is like it's just a snowball
Exactly,
with arms and
yeah.
legs. Yeah, no, again, like, you know, happy holidays. I appreciate most of what you guys do. So shout out to the community and everything that's going on there. Kuzenbo, free stuff. Everybody likes that. Well, we're gonna give you free stuff more so. 31 days of Smite means 3 times everything.
Yep. Every day in December, there's going to be something new in Smite. This weekend, 3 times everything. Favor, Worshippers, XP, and Fantasy Points. We don't do that all too often, so make sure you guys hop onto Smite, play this weekend, grind out, get some bonus rewards.
Yeah, fantasy points. My notes say FP season ticket.
Yeah, definitely. So
yeah, buy
we
your
want to give you
skins.
guys another reminder that Fantasy Points will not carry over into Season 6. So we've got that season ticket store to where you can spend all the fantasy points that you earn and unlock exclusive skins. Want to remind you guys to be sure to spend all your points, get those skins using fantasy points. That way you can save up your gems and you'll be good to go.
There you go. Make sure you're able to do that. Save up your gems or grab more gems. Gem sale going on right now. What is it, 33%
Yeah,
off?
up to 33% off, and that's on all platforms.
Woof.
PC, Xbox, PS4. Holiday season, stock up on gems, get ready for Season 6.
Yeah, make it rain. That's going to be a lot of fun. Grab those gems, buy skins and everything. Like we said, we really appreciate you guys and what most of you guys do and all that fun stuff. So, Kuzenbo, free stuff.
Exactly.
Never going to turn down free stuff.
Right.
So, have you seen any of King Arthur yet?
I've seen a whole lot of King Arthur, and I am super stoked for you guys to see it. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah, Arthur's one of these characters that like we play test. Like I don't think that's a secret. Esports like play tests and kind of like figures out the gods as they're creating them. And King Arthur is a character. These characters have come out. And I don't
Let's get
wanna
it
say
ready,
that-
come on.
And all the gods have been good. Look, I'm not saying that nothing's bad, but like you play these characters and you're like, okay, this is kind of fun. But King Arthur, something different.
Exactly.
This has been one of the harder ones to keep secret. So you know what? Let's just jump into it. King Arthur, this is
Yes.
the real reveal
Please.
this time. Hindu, give us King Arthur.
Talk about community and stuff as well. Welcome back. Happy holidays once again. Joining me on the set are going to be 3 of the most amazing people in the studio today. Pompon, AJ, and Chaos are going to be joining me to talk all about King
Nice.
Arthur. So excited about this, guys. Break down for me, first of all, the lore. It's not like I don't know, but tell me about it anyway.
No, you actually, King Arthur has a lot of lore and a lot of different writers and different sources
true,
and things
that's
like
true.
that. So I've been spending a lot of time on the lore lately. I've become a little bit of our lore guru and working with the events and our writer Ian. So we really dove into King Arthur's history to start and look for the most actual legends we could find. And there's an ancient text called the History of the Kings of Britain, written in like the 1300s, or I might be forgetting my
that
date.
one's like, I think in like the 800s. That one's
Is it
way
really?
earlier,
Yeah, that's like the earliest one. So I tried to get a lot of it from that, just because it felt like the most ancient, original, mythical lore. And what that really covers is the key points of Arthur that everybody knows, right? He had his father, Uther, given the name Pendragon by Merlin because of a prophecy. Uther was trying to save the British people from constant invasion and the kind of chaos that happened after the Roman Empire was collapsing.
Yep.
But he wasn't quite able to do so, and he fell in battle to the Saxons. But then his son, Arthur, the prophesized greatest king, rose up in his place, defeated the invaders so absolutely that he would live in a world of peace and found this kingdom of Camelot.
Well, on top of that, we do have a video standing by for you all just to break that down a little bit more in detail. Let's take a look at Arthur's lore.
Long has the legend been told of a great battle king who rose to deliver peace to lands riven by war. By his hand was the bloodshed ceased, and all its peoples united under his reign. And with his knights he ventured out to safeguard with steel all that he had sworn to protect. But in his absence, the hope he had brought began to fray, and others, even the king's own kindred, sought the power to rule for themselves. A betrayal most cold, threatening to turn all that he held dear to ashes. Upon his return, the king beheld what had become of his realm and people. He was their guardian, and he bore that oath above all others. The battle raged, sundering fair Camelot as surely as the king's own bloodline. He carried the day, in the end, but at a cost in stone, blood, and soul. In its wake, the king sets out upon a new journey, for Avalon has called to him, and Arthur shall answer.
Damn, I really like this. This is really nice, the way they laid that out. I really enjoyed that. Do that for all gods in that
Long
way.
live the king. And King Arthur is going to be available in this patch. Finally, time to get talking about him as we get ourselves towards game. Pom-Pom, I want to talk to you guys a little bit, first of all, about, as we get into the game, to do with what is Arthur's character going to be all about in the game?
So Arthur is a combo warrior. We really wanted to
Combo.
yes, combo.
You scare me already.
We really wanted to capture the feel of like an action game, a hack and slash. It's something that just like feels really good for our perspective of the game, but we haven't really done before.
Yeah.
Where you're like just chaining these abilities together, using them to cause widespread chaos and damage.
Oh, yeah.
Doing a whole bunch of just fun stuff. And we also really want to try and capture that feel where like it's really animation driven. When you're doing something, you're like leaping forward or you're taking a step forward, trying to capture that kind of combat feel that we just haven't really done in SMITE before.
We've got Tyr and Ul, which are like stance changes. RTO as well is a good example. But they, even though they are combo-esque, they're not as true combo as this feels, right? Is that
Right.
kind of like, there's more direction towards that?
Yeah, so the stance switching capability that he has is a little bit different than we've done before, where it really opens him up to have a unique kind of ability flow. Where most stance switchers, you dump your kit, switch stance, dump your kit. He, after every single ability he casts outside of his ultimate, will swap between standard and combo.
Okay.
So you have
Called
three
it.
standard abilities, you have three combo abilities. If you use your one standard, you now have access to your 1, 2, or 3 combo ability.
I really
When you
like
use
that
one of
idea.
those, you go back to standard. So you can unleash all 6 of your standard abilities in any which way you want.
There's something about a new energy meter I'm reading about here as well. What is this energy meter and why should we be talking about this before we get in game?
So we didn't get to talk about the ult a little bit, but the each of his abilities will build up energy, essentially empowering Excalibur.
Right.
And then once Excalibur has a certain amount of energy, you gain access to either the 35 energy ultimate, which is a nice short hop that he does a little bit of action in.
Okay.
Or you have the 80 one,
Short
which is
hop.
you've been fighting for
Smash.
a long time. You've got a lot of successful hits. You can unleash this 80 power ultimate and like really devastate.
Well, let's
your
get into
opponent.
game and get our first little look at how King Arthur is going to be in the game, and we'll talk through his abilities as well. So that energy thing is going to be to do with the ultimate. Is just the ultimate, nothing else?
Yep, just the ultimate.
Okay, so as you're working through your combos, playing this character, you'll build up the energy, and then that is unleashed during the ultimate. Depending on how much you've got,
Yep.
gives you a different ultimate.
Correct.
That's kind of cool.
Right.
I actually thought it was like you just, join the stance things, you use your ult and you get it, but it's actually based off, nope, you can't use it because you're not doing enough in the fights.
Correct.
That's really cool.
Yeah, his ultimate is completely governed by this. Does it have a cooldown, Pawn, if you reach energy fast enough?
It does have a very short cooldown of 20 seconds, and
Right.
that's just to prevent spamming of the lower one.
Sure.
But you can do something like be at, because it has up to 100 energy, you can be at 100 energy, use the ult, use other abilities to quickly build back up to 35 and use the other ult. And often if you're building up enough, the time it takes to build up enough energy, you're going to have it off cooldown to use again.
Now, before we go for the abilities, we need to talk about the basic attacks, first of all, on this list. Now, these basic attacks, there's a little bit of a difference than traditional Smite with this, right? There's new tech, I believe?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So when we were playing him, he had this really cool action game hack and slash feel, but the basics felt kind of strange where
Right.
he was just doing standard basic attacks. He scaled with attack speed. Things were just kind of very similar and it didn't quite feel the same as the other abilities. And so what we wanted to do was make it feel more like an ability. And so we allowed it to, when you're out of range of a target, he will actually charge forward. He'll leap forward to hit enemies.
Okay. So it's
What?
kind of like, it's got a little bit of movement in this. It's got a bit of a charge, a little bit of a dash that's involved in
That's-
this. Cass, you were involved in some of this?
Yeah,
So
basically
easy.
There's two charges going
What?
on.
Right.
If you're not near a target, you're actually just going to charge forward. But if you're actually close enough to a target, you're going to start locking onto them.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and so you're going to actually rotate towards them.
That's
and one of
massive, not missing
cool
any
things,
basics.
Or one of
What?
the difficult things that we were able to do with this sort of tech is normally when you cast an ability, like think like Ride
What?
One or something, it's very like sequential. It's
Is it
deterministic,
Cleave?
And you play an animation, right? That's guaranteed. So normally on the client, we tell the client, play this animation. One of the cool things going on with this new tech is there's decision making going on, whether or not you're going to, again, charge forward, you're going to lock on, you're going to do these things. And we were able to reconcile both on client and server that you're able to basically make the same decision. That way you end up getting this like full zero latency experience on whether or not you're going to
It's
charge.
such a free
Now, the
gap
one thing to mention
closer.
about this as well, now you can't buy attack speed items on this god.
Correct.
But if you do buy attack speed items,
What?
you do get something out of it.
Yeah, and so attack speed kind of like, it feels like you're trying to get damage out quicker, and so
Yeah.
we tried to go with that theme where if you build attack speed, you're actually going to be building energy quicker. So
Which
I believe
helps towards
it's-
your ultimate, yeah.
Yeah, so if you get 60% attack speed, 33% of that is going to go towards your energy gain, and so you actually gain energy 20% faster.
Okay, so that's the basic attacks understood a little bit more in detail now. We'll move on to actual abilities. Well, we're not really. We're going to do passive.
is gonna be
which is
so
also a great
complicated.
feature.
Pretty
There we
much
go.
been talking about the passive.
Yeah.
All of these
Right.
things we've been talking about are parts of the passive. The way his stances change, the way he can build attack speed or energy instead of attack speed. But there is one more element to this passive.
Correct.
These all are kind of the core kit. The core pieces that make this kit feel different. Like
Okay.
we moved them into the passive because Arthur has such a unique and different feel to it. That's why his passive feels like it has a lot going on. But we have to have a place where we can convey all that information to the players.
Sure.
So since he is such a unique god, we use the passive for those, just to kind of give you
realize
the
that.
entire idea. Like this is a strange god to really look at certain parts just in a vacuum by themselves because it doesn't play like that at all. Like it all comes together, and it's so important to think of these abilities as flowing into each other and not just single one-off things.
Okay, now let's talk about the combos before we get into the abilities, first of all, I guess is the best way. Or should we go straight into ability one?
Well, we still have one aspect of the passive still.
there is?
Which we actually fit all that in the text, and I'm super happy
Good
about
job.
that.
The
is-
mitigations.
But does it
Yes,
fit in German?
Mitigations. Maybe.
No, it doesn't.
Probably doesn't fit. But what we do have is something to encourage you to fight, kind of reward you for doing the playstyle that we're kind of encouraging, which is get in the middle of enemies and really deal a lot of damage and use your abilities in sequence.
Yep.
Is each time you deal damage to a god, you'll get a stack of something called Steadfast, and that will give you damage mitigation, a percentage of that, and it'll also increase how fast you're building energy. So the longer you're fighting, the more and more energy generation you're going to get.
So stay in combat good,
Yes.
leaving combat bad.
Yes.
Makes a lot of sense to
Fight.
me.
And this makes sense from a core perspective of this god because a god that has a lot of abilities and we want to use all of them, you need to stay in combat for a long time to have time to use those, right? If he did as much damage with 3 abilities as another god, then he would be overpowered. But if he did 8 abilities as fast as another god did 3 abilities, that would also be overpowered, right? So we have an interesting kind of DPS problem to go through with Arthur, which really led us to a lot of design elements that encourage him to stay in the fight and continue fighting and using all of his abilities, but at a pace that you're accustomed to.
Really interesting so far with this. Now you can see the passive meter as well being charged up on the left-hand side, I believe. Is that how it is? That's going to be cool. So, first ability then, because we've got a few abilities here.
I feel like even for this guy, before we even go into abilities, we should just have whoever's driving here just go through a bunch of them.
All right.
Like, let's just...
I believe it's Pecky's.
Does
Pecky's
Pecky's have much Arthur experience here?
No, not terribly.
Okay. I would love to see him just like slash on an Odin for a minute and just go through just to get a feel for kind of how the character runs through.
Do some cooldown.
And no, I don't even think we need to cheat with cooldowns because his cooldowns are low.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure.
That's true.
Is he using cooldown cheat right now?
He was using it and then now he's not.
Okay.
So yeah, just unload on the Odin.
Now, as you can see with these... Oh my lord, what was that?
Don't worry, we'll get there.
Whoa.
He's got 2 knockups.
And a stun.
And a stun?
Yeah.
For me, going through the abilities one at a time is just strange for this character because that's not how he ever plays. Yeah.
6.1 patch notes will have nerfs. I can already see it coming now.
We'll see.
2 knockups and a stun on a warrior? Oh no. Oh no, boys. What have you done?
What is happening?
Okay.
It's
so,
fine.
The combos work. Explain how the combos work for me. I believe you can't, like, go from stance to stance and then use the same ability again when you reset to the original stance you started in.
Yep, so each ability has its own separate cooldown.
Right.
So if you do 1 standard, you're now in combo stance.
Okay.
I do 1 combo, I go back to my standard stance. My 1 is likely on cooldown, but I still have access to my 2 and my 3.
Right.
And so every time you're always going to be going between standard combo, standard combo, standard combo is the flow of the abilities. And so you got to be mindful of that too because you might want the knockup of the 2 combo that we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
But you might be in standard stance, so you have to use another ability to get there. And so maybe you can use a gap closer, maybe you can use a slow to help set up that ability.
Gotcha. So you've got to make sure you get the ability available for you in the stance you want and have it off cooldown.
Yep.
Right.
And it really does cause people to find combos that they like. Like every person who's playtested him, I found them liking just completely different things, certain ability orders that they just kind of gravitate towards.
Listen, I just like pressing 3 consistently. If 3 is up, it's being pressed is kind of how it's going to be.
So the thing is, when you hear the word combo in games, there's kind of 2 different designs that come to mind.
Yes.
One is kind of the more classic fighting game combos, which is a long string of inputs that you must input exactly in order to pull off the combo.
Sure.
That is not the type of design we went for with Arthur.
Right.
Now we have lots of Smite gods. Like when you play Hercules, you always want to pull them, then push them, then ult them, and you always want to do that. That's fine. What we wanted with Arthur was something different. So we designed his combo system in a way that has freedom for the players to choose their order. So all gods in Smite end up having some sort of combo that becomes most popular, and it's very possible that Arthur will have the same. But he has a lot more options, a lot more choices, and a lot more ways to affect the order in which he uses his abilities. And we want players to be able to react to the situation and use them in different ways. And we designed this system specifically to give players that freedom.
Okay, we gotta
This
have
guy-
the abilities, though, even though you don't want
This
to
guy
use
needs
combos.
Black
I mean,
Thorn
that's
Hammer.
How the functionality works, we've seen it a little bit,
Right.
but like, let's break it down.
It's just so funny because the way we've been testing him and play testing him, no one says like, oh, use your 2 there. We're always like, oh, well, you should 3 standard into 2 combo there. Like that's the way we always talk about him, and that's the way we expect players to as well.
First ability in normal stance is going to be called overhand slash. You've seen the cameraman doing it a couple of times so far. This is kind of a poke tool more than anything else, a bit of a clear tool.
Well, it's both. So what's cool about this is you have a ranged projectile. Essentially, he cuts the air, creates this like energy projectile, and it goes flying forward. It really captures that magic feel of Excalibur. But if you get them in melee range, well, he is swinging Excalibur at an overhead slash.
Yeah.
If they're in melee range, they're going to take 50% increased damage.
Oh wow! Okay.
So you can use it as a ranged poke, or if you actually get in with other abilities of your kit, you can deal more damage directly.
Cool. So that's the overhead smash, and
And it's
the
clear.
combo stance for the same ability is a sword swipe across, which is called hamstring.
Yep. And that one is a horizontal swipe. It's pretty basic, but it does have some implications with the kit. It's a horizontal slash that kind of like goes low, and it tries to kind of like hamstring them, which is why the name hamstring's there, and it cripples them. So
it's a cripple.
It is a cripple.
Oh, interesting.
It's a very
Even
short
more
duration
CC?
cripple, but it allows you to do things like use an ability,
Wow.
and then someone who might leap away, you stop that, and then you get to unload other abilities on them.
So not a slow, just a cripple on that.
Just a cripple.
Interesting. Because I expected with hamstring it was like slow, but cripple's really cool.
And the thing is, with these abilities, you'll notice a lot when you're playing Arthur. The way he feels, the way he moves, and the way he animates during these abilities is just different than other Smite gods.
Right.
And this is going to feel very different to different types of players. But specifically for the one, he becomes self-rooted during these. So if our playtester is just walking forward and fires these abilities, he has to stop.
Sure.
A lot of our gods, they can move in all 8 directions
same
while
time.
spinning in circles at full speed and shooting things in all different directions. And to us, that just broke down the core fabric of Arthur's design.
Gotcha.
The way he's intended to feel as an action game character, the animation drives his attacks. And that's a lot of the work that Chaos was putting into this character, was to change these rules,
Yeah,
which have been set in Smite for years. But we were like, nah, rip them out.
Like one of the things we did with the one, because we wanted to give him like a little bit of forward momentum.
Yeah.
So he's using like a little bit of a mini charge, but he's actually able to turn wherever he wants to while he's charging, which is something we haven't really done before.
Oh,
You know, if
okay.
you look at like Ardeo or Vimana, right, they have like these slow, reduced turn charges.
Sure.
So with him, he gets that forward momentum and he gets that like animated cinematic feel while still having that full dynamic control over what he's doing.
That's
Right.
cool.
But you can't be strafing all 8 directions while spinning full speed
Right.
Yeah.
on Arthur's moves. You're going to have some limitations. You'll have to really play to the animation.
Okay.
And we'll see that on more of his abilities.
Let's move on to ability 2 then.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 abilities there. First one is going to be called Twin Cleave here.
Oh, nope.
No?
I'm going to Battle Stomp.
Is that, oh, my
You're going
bad.
right to 3.
I went to 3. I'm so excited
You
about
really
3.
like
That's why
Yeah, he does like the 3.
Battle Stomp. Tell me about Battle Stomp. Obviously, I'm guessing he's stomping the ground.
Yeah, he stomps the ground and pulses out this kind of magic area that will slow enemies.
Oh, so you've got slow and a cripple and a stun and 2 knockups so far.
Yeah,
Kill
pretty
me.
good.
I'm
It's
scared.
very close range around Arthur. You use it, it slows, and it's very low damaging. That's kind of a theme of the 2 itself, is the 2 is really a lot of the more CC to set up your other abilities.
Right.
So it's low damage, but it slows, which can help you land the overhead slash. It can help you when you go spin on them.
It can help you uppercut.
Yeah, it can help you uppercut. It can do
And
all those things.
The uppercut is the second ability in this combo of the second ability.
Yes.
Right. 2 combo is uppercut. That really sweet little dash into a knockup.
So 2 slow into uppercut. And the uppercut really is just a standard knockup.
Yeah, it's a little bit away, a little bit up, and the nice thing is it can actually, because you're uppercutting in front of you,
Yeah.
you get multiple targets in there. It knocks them up.
Lordy.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
It's very close range. Like those Odins are standing very close together. But yeah, if you're in the
It's
hit
like a Gold
area,
Fury fight. That's kind of what happened at a Gold Fury.
yeah, it's kind of like it's like an action game. If there are a whole bunch of enemies together and you like swipe your sword across, you're hitting all of them.
So already I'm learning from like watching this, like if I'm playing against Arthur, you don't want to group up. Is what
No.
I'm feeling. You
No,
don't want to be
yeah,
as
not at
grouped as a team. Okay.
Spread out.
So that's uppercut and battle stomp. And then we move into what I said a moment ago for the third ability, Twin Cleave.
Right.
So yep. King Arthur unleashes kind of 2 cleave attacks, so he'll actually spin twice, and he's charging forward while he's spinning.
Okay.
And this is a really good setup move because both it covers distance, but if you're already on your target, you can use it to actually shred their armor.
Oh, so as you're getting close, it's quite movement speedy. You can move pretty quick during
Yeah.
it. But if you are hitting people, they're going to be shredded.
Yes, so if you actually hit people, so it's a very good gap closer or very good to just increase your damage overall.
Okay, so it's a pretty good for like clearing wave as well. Would that be useful there?
Yeah, especially if like you kind of dash through and like hit the other soul laner, you
Yeah.
shred their prot, you're now grouping with the minions, and you're going to be set to use your big spin, which is the next ability.
See, he has so many abilities he's using all the time that there is no one that's
Yeah.
just like the lane clear. You're going to need
Yeah.
to use multiple abilities. So they all
Sure.
can do part of it, but
Because his mana costs are going to be relatively low, I heard, right? To
Yeah.
allow
Right.
it to do this.
so some players we've seen in testing prefer to go the 3 for the lane clear. Some
Yep.
prefer to go to 1. The 2 is more utility, so you generally don't go that first.
Right.
But you could.
Oh, interesting. Well, because you get more of a slow, I guess. You'll see the...
Right. You could if you really just want to focus on boxing out the opponent instead. You could.
Okay, so that's the third ability, but let's go into the Bladestorm, the combo ability of this now. Now, what's the difference between this and the other version then?
So this one is you're kind of forced to charge forward. So think kind of Vimana where you're kind of forced to go forward, except you have a lot more turn and control, and you can also hold backwards to go slower. But you're spinning around, rapidly slashing people with Excalibur.
We're on you.
And then at the end, you do one big
Big sweep.
final hit that does more damage. So if you get to the end of this charge, if you're able to stay on your
Wow.
target, they don't get away. They're gonna eat a pretty meaty hit.
And one of the cool things too with the 3B Yep, sorry. The Bladestorm is that you're actually, that final smash at the end, that final strike, is something we were actually building tech off of from Baron's ult. When Baron
really?
actually finishes his ult, he goes and he does this like resolve animation, and we were able to use that same tech to bring in like a kind of extra attack at the end of this otherwise firing device.
Awesome.
We spoke about the ultimate a little bit, one or two of them. Now, the energy generation is what we mentioned there. You get some energy from using the Cleave, the 3 ability, I believe. Do the other abilities give you energy
All
too?
the abilities give you energy. The
Cool.
one I think gives you about the most, if in just like a single instance.
Right.
The 3 standard and combo, if you land all the things, can give you a little bit more. But really, all of them are rewarding you with energy if you hit them. And then if you get enough energy, you can use the ultimate.
Now, the ultimate, is it based off which stance you're in, which ultimate you use if you've got enough energy for both?
Nope.
Or is it just based off how much energy you have currently is the ability you're going to use?
Yep, it's currently how much energy you have. So if you're anywhere from 35 to 79, you'll use the 4 standard. If you are, so that's Sundering Strike.
Right.
If you are above at 80 or above, you will use Excalibur's Fury.
So we'll do Excalibur's Wrath first of all, because that is fully charged, I believe, on the screen.
Correct.
So there's no way for us to show the other one without consuming it. And that's that big boy right there. That is a hell of a lot. It's like a mini Narjarul.
Yeah, so you charge forward, you isolate a target, and you bring them into the air, and you deal damage to them. So each slash does a base amount, and some of their maximum health is true damage.
Oh, true damage?
So the base damage is physical.
What?
The percent health focuses actually on their percent health, so this is technically true. And then at the end, you unleash one final big strike that launches them back to the ground, and that also does a percentage of their maximum health as true damage and another bit of physical damage. And because you can see an explosion at the end, if you hit potentially, I don't know, maybe like an Odin right there, and there's Odins underneath.
Say
we-
we. Oh my.
Them too.
Yep. So get out
Okay.
from underneath.
Can you beads it like you could if you like, because it's a combo thing?
Yeah, so one of the awesome things about this is at any point once you're up in the air, you can beads, and what it does is it actually triggers Arthur to go into the final smash of it. So you don't just fall out, but it causes him to resolve it faster.
So
You
he's
still
still
take a
taking
tough damage.
resolution damage of like the final strike and the damage down, but any additional hits you would have taken there would be cancelled because you've used your beads.
Exactly.
Right.
That's really cool tech. I like
Yeah, that's
that.
something we've never done before. Where we actually have beads. The ability reacts to if you beads it or not,
Yeah,
and
it's
changes
like if
how
you
it
were in a
behaves.
Najal and then they hit you with the first swing, you hit beads, and then it's like, okay, I'll just land with you. That's kind of
Right.
the same sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
It's so
that's
quick,
the
like it's
big
not hardly
ultimate.
worth
What's
it because the
big
landing
ultimate?
damage is a big damage.
So the baby ultimate is really kind of an extender of his combos for when you don't have enough energy and you can't go into the ultimate state. It's a little like a short hop jab. So he winds up Excalibur, hops forward, and then jabs forward in a big area, and that stuns.
Okay.
So you can build up some energy and then kind of close the distance with the short hop, stun them, get back onto them. It's really there to enable you to chase targets effectively, or just if your abilities are down, you need to buy a little bit of time to get your abilities back up.
Yeah.
You can use that to stun them.
Is it like when he charges forward, it looks like he's got a projectile range on that? Does he have to connect with you? With the dash?
He has to connect with you with any part of that hit area.
Oh, really? So
Yeah, it's got pretty
instant.
long range actually.
Oh, it's instant. Yeah.
That's cool.
So that ability was really designed as the, like Pon said, the combo extender. If you don't really want to go for the full ultimate, you've done an interesting like 1 standard into 2 combo into 3 standard, and now you want to follow with some more damage. You can throw the 4 in between. At one point, we even had it lowering his cooldowns if you hit people, but we found that mostly unnecessary because his cooldowns ended up pretty low on its own. So we didn't really need cooldown resetting mechanics on top of everything else.
This god's amazing. I really love the beads tech that you put in, by the way. Like that idea of the ultimate sounds amazing.
Yeah, there's actually one other thing I wanted to show about on the super ultimate.
Go.
So if you can get
You have to hit Odin a lot with the ones.
Yeah.
Is the best way we found to build energy while
Oh, he's been building it up
You
really
just
quickly.
spam the 1 off cooldown. I mean, when the one's on cooldown, just spam 2, right? And then go back to 1, then 2, then 1, then 2.
Yeah, you can just use all your
Or
abilities.
he just used
So
cheats,
technically, you can't,
which are fine
you
too.
can't go 1-3-1, but you could go 1-3-2-1, right? Because your 1 will still be on cooldown if you went 1-3-1.
So if you go 1 standard, 2 combo, 3 standard, 1 combo, you could do that.
This is why I like, you got to learn all these different combos now, and there's so many different intricacies with it as well. But go on, Cass, what you
Yeah, so since we really wanted to drive like this animation, driven character, one of the really cool things that we got with the ult is when you actually launch them up in the air, they're not just like levitating, not just floating, they're actually being chucked around.
Yeah,
and being,
I know it's like
swung
the
around.
ragdoll.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll see the Odin spinning and floundering as he gets slashed.
Help me.
So what was really hard about that is normally you can't just throw in an animation to like a bunch of different characters because they're all built differently, right?
Yeah.
They all have different skeletons, they all have different things. So we came up with this idea to basically get this one little point. We spawn it into the game and we just animate that one point around, we rotate it around.
Gotcha.
And we attach the character to that.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that way, no matter who you are, whoever you're being hit, they could be chucked around and rotated any way they want in the air.
It's funny to watch a Khepri get chucked around.
Now, one question about this real quick. This is a bead situation again, because this is one that the fans will have. If I pre-beads the ultimate, am I just not going up at all?
Correct.
If I have got Magi's Cloak and get hit by the ultimate, I'm not going up at all.
Correct.
Okay. But if I am late on my beads, I'm still going to have an impact with my beads.
You'll take at least the final hit.
I think there's also about a second while you're going up where you can't beads, and then it's once you're locked in that state, that's when you're able to like.
It's like the first ability has to hit if you got hit of it.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
And then it's like, okay, you've taken enough damage, you can come back down, but you'll take some on the fall.
Right.
And we're looking at Arthur, and as we're going through these abilities, and they're sounding very interesting, the key thing to remember is that they play differently than other Smite abilities, so it's hard to compare them apples to apples to other Smite gods, because like that stun ultimate seems strong, but when you'll see when you play with the movement and the way he's locked into his animations, it takes a lot of getting used to get good at hitting that ability. Same with a lot of his other abilities.
Now, I do want to talk a little bit about builds and playstyle recommendations. It looks very much like Solo-esque here. I don't see sustain in this kit. I see control in this kit, however.
Right.
Yes.
Am I looking for? If I don't need attack speed on this, I'm looking at like tankiness and cooldown, maybe.
Yeah, so we've seen two styles that have kind of really worked in our internal tests, which is a bruiser build where you're still building a little bit of offense, but you're building things like Void Shield and maybe Masamune is like your most offensive item.
Right.
And then we've seen pure tank, but either way, Glad Shield is pretty potent.
Or Berserker Shield.
Or Berserker Shield, yeah, because he cleaves.
But yeah, he doesn't have the built
Oh. All right then.
sustain, so it's pretty important to pick that up. You could try something like a Stone of Gaia or maybe something instead just to regen a little between fights, but that helps a lot, especially since he needs to stay in combat.
So focusing on bruiser mentality more than trying to go raw damage because you'll probably die in the fight.
Right. We found that he does better with a little tanky build because, like we said, as a balance concern to make sure his abilities feel good, you have to get more of them off to deal about the same amount of damage as another god would.
Sure.
So that makes him tend not as
Jungle
well
clear
towards the
seems
full
insane.
assassin build, although it's still very tempting.
I'm sure there'll be players out there that will.
It is
try
very
and find a
fun,
build that
but
works
you know, assassins are designed to 1-2 alt kill someone, and Arthur is not designed to do that. So he just has to be in the fight a little longer. If he's really squishy, he'll die. But
well, it's that point of the show then for us to listen to how King Arthur is going to sound in the game. Let's listen to the voice pack.
Greetings. Attack left lane. Attack right lane. Defend. Help. Oops. Fie. 'Tis no problem. Silent. Today, we become legends.
Generic.
You are welcome. Farewell.
so yeah, he's very regal.
Yeah, he sounds regal. He sounds like a posh sort of. I mean, yeah, he sounds
He's
like
got the
one
English
of my
accent.
kings of years gone past. You know.
An English accent, but not an over-the-top, like
No, not
hilarious
Sir Ket
English
style or
accent,
anything like
like
that. Yeah, that's nice.
like a Hindu man type accent.
I personally like his VEG.
I'm over the top. Here's a little look at the recolor as well of that. So, it's in the blue version too. Bit more Camelot-esque.
And the dark hair,
Yep.
modeled after Pon Pon himself.
Yep. That was in a Reddit thread this morning.
What? That is Pom Pom?
Yeah.
It's part of it.
Yeah, I can
see it.
cosplay.
I can see it. Let's
We'll
go
do it.
cosplay for next year.
Arthur Pon Pon cosplay.
This guy, though, guys, looks amazing. What is your favorite thing about this god in general? Well, what is your
Oh,
your
I like the
personal favorite
gold.
things about like what you've done with this and what you're looking forward to the players to do with this?
I personally think the coolest thing on my end was working towards like solving the problem of like how do you make a character feel different in Smite and how do you work through that.
Sure.
And there's a lot of things that we did, like him having instant cast only abilities. So we had to build in targeters to each ability so you can see where they're going to hit. Trying to capture like how do you balance things feeling responsive by also letting them have the animation weight. Working with programming to make sure that we had all the tech needed to support that because we had a lot of new initiatives. Just the amount of work that went into to him to make him feel different as a character and be successful has been.
I mean, yeah, that action feel and the animation-driven abilities, like that was the whole thing that got this pitch going. When we've been talking about doing this type of character in Smite for years, and when I was really trying to pitch King Arthur, I paired him with this awesome, kind of ability idea that had been bouncing around the studio for a while, just to get these two exciting ideas combined, which just got the team very excited. We knew it would be ambitious and difficult because it breaks the normal formula, right? Changing things from what the game is like designed to do at its core is difficult. We generally want people to be rotating full speed and 8-way moving while they're doing all their attacks. That's okay, and that's a thing that works well in Smite and lots of other gods. But we wanted to do something different, and so I'm very happy with just the amount of work the animation team and Chaos had to do to make this god work the way he does. And Pawn had to make a lot of design calls, some difficult decisions, like instant cast only.
Sure.
Like, we are doing these things because they specifically play into his strategy. And yeah, there's probably going to be players out there that wish they could do, you know, normal 1-2-3 stance switch and then 1-2-3, or there's going to be players that wish they could put them on normal cast, but we are intending you to play Arthur differently.
Yeah.
He is different.
What about you, Chaos?
I'm really excited just to have people play such an animation-driven character with all those different things, and like we even have like procedural camera work that we threw in that we didn't get to talk too much about on the build, but it's gonna be really cool on the PTS, and he's just so much fun to play, like just casting all the abilities, going in like whatever way.
What other thing with you? Because like you've formerly been a big pro player, right? Like how does he feel like from a player's standpoint?
So
Like,
much
you've
fun.
been around a long
like,
time.
Like just even like the first game I started playing him where he was finally coming together, I was like, oh my god, this is such a blast to play.
He's so
like,
entertaining.
Yeah. Like no matter what combination, like no matter what like way that you cast the abilities, it always feels fun. Like you could do whatever you want, you can have whatever flavor you want, and it's just such a cool experience.
I'm really looking forward to it, guys, and it's been an absolutely amazing patch to close out, well, at least the Christmas period for us here at Harris Studios. Guys, you know when the PTS is going to be?
We
dreaming?
actually, because everyone, it's
Are
a
they-
Christmas
We're
time
working
around
to get
here.
it up tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be Christmas time for Hi-Res, so we really want to get it out tonight so people can get their hands on it and play it so that we can get feedback.
I mean, short aside that Chaos kind of referenced, we still do have some final polish work going into Arthur.
Yep.
There's some animations that might do some strange things, and if you're doing some certain areas, we're aware of most of those, and we were working on them this morning. Even the build we have going to PTS is further along than the one we used for this show. So if you see any little stutters and things like that, Chaos is working to squash those round the clock.
Yeah.
But with that, then, that's all we've got time for here. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time on the show today. King Arthur is going to be available very, very soon. Reminder, there's no skin section this week. It'll be available next Thursday. There'll be a special show between 11
Or
and 1
you can
on
just watch
Mixer
mine.
to show all the skin card art that we showed off today on this show. There's just some more final touches going towards that. But from everyone here at Hi-Res Studios, at Skillshot, at Titan Forge, have a wonderful, happy holiday period. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll all look forward to seeing you in the new year if we don't see you in game. Have a good night. Tonight, though, it's time for D&D next up, and if you didn't see anything about D&D in the SMITE edition, here's a little recap of what happened in week 1 with me and my rock.
All right,
so that is not going to be for us. We're going to end it right here. Or rather, we're going to quickly talk about Arthur because I couldn't really get a word in. I didn't really want to interrupt what they were saying about Arthur. I think Arthur looks, design-wise, kind of Tutor 2.0. To be honest, I don't think that changed, and I don't really see what about him is very Arthurian. He's just a combo warrior, and that could literally be any character from any mythology, to be honest. There's nothing really that stands out in that regard. But at the same time, that's kind of okay, because I think the idea for the kit is still cool. Like, I would have preferred it actually on a not so generic god. I would have preferred it on maybe like a Mayan god or something. But it's still nice in the sense that it's just something completely unique. I am obviously worried seeing how much this character has. Like, crippled, slow, knock up, stun, and I'm probably forgetting something else. He's got a ton of CC. Short CC, but ton of CC. It seems like with the ultimate, you can interrupt it, but I have to see the percentage damage. It's a bit misleading on the ultimate. It seems like the majority of the damage happens after the ultimate when he swings down anyways. So even if you interrupt it with beats, it might not even be worth it, especially if you're squishy, because that percentage damage is just like whatever. And if you die, you're going to die either way, and you might not want to burn your beats, because the drop down damage is gonna hit you anyway. So I think it would be cool if you could kind of avoid that. He seems to have a lot of AoE. That's why I said jungle also seems like a good option, because it seems like his basics, all his abilities, everything in his kit just clears the jungle very quickly. We do not have any numbers that are representative yet, because we could only see them on the Odin bot. So obviously not exactly the damage numbers in game, and that's going to be interesting. We're going to have to see how much damage he really does. He does seem to be on the stronger side. From what we've seen so far and just from the kit, I would expect that it's more likely that he's going to get nerfed than that he's going to get buffed, but we'll have to get a feel for that in game. He might just, be hitting like a wet noodle. On the other hand, again, easy auto aim basically, and also the fact that he's got so much mobility, meaning that he also has a lot of escapes. It's going to be very, very hard to chase this guy down, so we'll have to see what happens with that. I like the approach. I'm a bit scared for what's going to happen. We'll find out more on the written patch notes in a bit. We'll definitely make sure to talk about the numbers and everything we have there a little bit more. And then also later in game today, and probably a look at the skins tomorrow, I'm expecting. And with that, thank you guys for watching for now. Hopefully see you for the next ones later. DukeSloth, out.